How's it going, lads? It's the Ball Boomer Biosparks with another Burning Crusade Classic video, and today I'm going to cover one of the less frequently used 3v3 compositions back in the Burning Crusade, which is the Priest Hunter Druid, also known as the PhD. We'll be looking at key information such as how each class plays its role, alongside strengths, potential weaknesses, and race choices you may want to consider. Personally, I like to consider 4 areas whenever I look at arena compositions, which are survivability, kill pressure, control, and longevity. Survivability is measured against how well a team can survive bursts of damage. Kill pressure is how well a team is able to create situations in which they can secure a kill with bursts of damage and how often they can take advantage of this. Control is measured by how a team is able to dictate a match into their favour, so this would include forms of crowd control, how they command areas of space within the arena floor, and draining mana. Longevity is how well a team fares the longer a match progresses, which takes into consideration mana conservation and cooldown management, since some team compositions prefer shorter matches, and others become stronger the longer the match drags on. Looking at these categories, the PhD team scores a 5 out of 5 in survivability, since running 2 powerful healer classes with a combination of damage mitigation cooldowns, absorption, and both direct and heal over time spells make this team very difficult to burst down. Score of 3 out of 5 in kill pressure, due to only having the hunter to provide the main source of damage in the team, as well as having limited on-demand damage cooldowns. A 5 out of 5 in control, since they have a range of abilities to lock down their opponents and keep the terms of the match in their favour, as well as having powerful mana drain abilities in the form of Viper Sting and Mana Burn. Lastly, the key strength of the PhD team, longevity, which scores a 5 out of 5 since every member of the team has abilities to regenerate mana built into their toolkit. Since this team has very good control, it also allows them to take advantage of being able to drink for some more mana and remain combat effective throughout the match. PhD teams have the potential to do very well within the arena, as long as they play to their strengths, coordinate together, and be patient in choosing their kill opportunities. Let's take a closer look at the role of each class and how they contribute in making this particular arena composition so powerful. First up, we have the Hunter, which has a few responsibilities to deal with to make sure that this team runs efficiently. The most obvious being pet management. I'm sure many people have seen or come up against hunters where they just use their pet as a way of doing supplementary damage and pretty much just leave it to its own devices. This is the biggest mistake that a hunter can make as part of any arena team, and especially in the PhD comp. So, what is the role of the pet, and how does the hunter maximize its potential? Well, the pet of choice should be the Scorpid, because this is going to combine very well with your Viper Sting. The poison from your Scorpid works similarly to a rogue's deadly poison, in which it can stack up to 5 times. The damage is nothing to write home about, but the real thing here is that you're protecting the Viper Sting from being the first thing that is being cleansed. It creates a situation where someone can end up having to spam cleanse trying to remove Viper Sting and waste extra mana while Viper Sting is already doing its work at draining the target's mana already. I've seen some excellent coordination with teams back in the day where a Druid was able to cyclone a target, and as it was about to end, the hunter would prime a snake trap so a bunch of snakes would inflict even more poisons to protect the Viper Sting he used right after. This is also while the priest managed to land a mana burn. Things like this are the stuff of nightmares for mana users, so make sure you respect the mana draining capabilities of the PhD team. When it comes to pet management, good arena teams are going to understand that the hunter's pet is an essential part of this team, so they will aim to kill it if they are careless enough to let it chase them around pillars, preventing your healers from keeping it alive. If the pet is dead, it reduces the amount of pressure the PhD team can put out immensely, as without a pet, they can't protect the Viper Sting with extra poisons, as well as the fact that the opposing team's mana users can drop out of combat and drink, since the pet isn't there to keep them occupied in combat. The other main responsibilities for the hunter are in the form of damage and control. As the only member of the PhD team that can pump out consistent damage, it is important that the hunter is able to correctly judge when the team should be pushing for a kill. The main damage cooldown that the hunter has is rapid fire, and this shouldn't be wasted carelessly or when targets are able to continuously line of sight around pillars, rendering it effectively useless. Effective and clear communication with the Druid and Priest is essential when you are securing a kill. The hunter's toolkit also comes with some useful abilities for a range of situations such as their traps, wing clip, concussive shot, as well as aim shot, scatter shot, and silencing shot if you spec into it. Hunters also have built-in mana regeneration with Aspect of the Viper, which also plays into the drawn-out playstyle of this team. So a hunter player needs to correctly assess when and where to use these abilities alongside their team's crowd control. It should also be noted that their Arcane Shot now has a built-in chance to dispel a buff from the enemy, which can assist the priest in the dispelling role. As for talent choices, People generally say in theory, hunters can choose any spec depending on their team composition and playstyle, although I think a bit more thought has to go into this decision. Beast Mastery offers a large damage boost for a short duration, and while in theory this can help you secure kills, your damage output will suffer when you don't have the beast within activated, since so many of your talents purely focus on boosting your pet. Survival is an interesting talent tree in which it gives you access to deterrence and counterattack, giving you more survivability, as well as Wyvern Sting, which adds another aspect of control for your team. But again, most damage boosts in this tree are focused around crit chance, and with resilience being a big aspect of the arena, I feel like this is a bit of a hard sell. Marksmanship, on the other hand, gives you the more consistent boost to your damage throughout the talent tree, as well as some very nice bonuses such as improved stings, which makes your Viper Sting drain more, as well as less chance for it to be cleansed, which directly complements the playstyle of the PhD comp. As well as this, you also get silencing shots, which can be used defensively or offensively, depending on the situation, making it a valuable tool in controlling the match alongside the Druid and the Priest. Overall, the Hunter has to manage quite a few things in this arena composition, which will require a high level of skill if the team is pushing higher arena ratings. However, a Hunter in the right hands can be devastating to go up against, which some people still underestimate when it comes to classes that can excel in the arena. The Druid and the Priest play supporting roles in the PhD team, and although they can both heal, they do have noticeable differences in what roles they play. Druids can focus much more on controlling the pace of the match, as well as focusing on healing, and there are a few reasons for this. Firstly, Druids have powerful healing over time capabilities, in the form of their regrowth, rejuvenation, and life bloom spells. They also have Swift Mend, which is an instant cast heal, or healing touch if they feel the need for a direct heal, without the risk of being interrupted. For emergency situations, the Druid has Nature Swiftness for a big instant cast healing touch, but that can also be used for other spells if they feel it's necessary. So with this amount of instant cast healing spells, the Druid is able to focus on unlocking the amount of control that they have at their disposal, most notably Cyclone and Entangling Roots. Cyclone works like a Warlock Spanish, except it works on players. It cannot be dispelled, and only a few things can break out of it, such as a PvP trinket, Paladin bubble, or a Mage's Ice block. To add to this, it doesn't have a built-in cooldown, which means that Cyclone can be cast on a target consecutively to keep them out of the match for about 10 seconds until diminishing returns make them immune. Like I mentioned before, timing Cyclone with teammates can be devastated when it comes to mana draining targets, as a priest can land mana burn as Cyclone ends, or it helps the hunter line up a free Viper Sting. Just be aware that Viper Sting ticks do not affect the target that has Cyclone costs on them. Entangling Roots, whilst not as powerful, since it can be dispelled, can be very detrimental to melee classes, since they need to reach their target to do damage. And again, since this isn't a spell that has a built-in cooldown, it can be cast repeatedly to help peel the priest or the hunter, who don't have as much mobility as a druid. If a team lacks any form of dispel, a druid can lock a target down with chains of Cyclone and Entangling Roots, keeping them out of the match for extended periods of time. Not to be overlooked, druids can also interrupt spellcasting and root the target with Feral Charge, and also follow up with Bash to stun the target for 4 seconds. Also, Insect Swarm comes in handy because it reduces hit chance by 2%, and since most players will be capped just enough for PvP, that extra 2% loss on their hit chance gives their major abilities a chance to potentially miss. Ultimately, druids could be considered the kings of control in the arena, with this many abilities to help them dictate an arena match on their terms. Even if the druid is focused, they have Bear Form to help mitigate physical damage, Bark Skin, which is an excellent defensive cooldown that can be activated during a stun, as well as shifting between forms, which removes movement impairing effects and makes it very difficult to catch a druid, especially if they have a priest assisting them. And if the druid didn't already have enough utility, they have Abolish Poison, which can remove poisons over time, especially if the priest gets hit with Viper Sting, as well as Innovate to help either themselves or the priest with mana regeneration. Overall, the druid has a lot of responsibilities to cover to ensure that his team is able to function at a high level and be successful in the arena. However, when this class is played by someone with a high level of mastery and an excellent team player, they become a huge asset to the team. Last but not least, we have the priest, which fulfills a few more specific roles within the PhD team. The most obvious role, of course, are their healing and survivability contributions. Priests have various options that complement the druid's healing over time, such as Power Word Shield, which absorbs a decent amount of incoming damage. They also have a heal over time with Renew, alongside direct heals with Flash Heal and Greater Heal, and also Binding Heal, which can be used when the priest and another target have taken damage. Prayer of Mending can help damage that's been spread out amongst the team, And lastly, Pain Suppression, which is an amazing ability that can nullify incoming damage massively, but shouldn't need to be used too often since this team has 2 support classes, but it's best kept when it's really needed. One benefit of running 2 healers within this team is this allows the priest to be much more aggressive in how they control the match. They can chase down opponents and dispel their essential buffs, they can drop a fear bomb if they catch players standing too close, or they can even mind control a target if the situation allows. Most importantly though is their role of mana burning targets alongside the Hunter's Viper Sting to destroy the opposing team's longevity and putting them under severe pressure to try and keep their mana reserves up. In this particular team, the Priest should be working alongside the Druid and the Hunter to mana burn targets of opportunity whenever they've been rooted, slowed, or just come out of a cyclone to guarantee that they can get at least 1 or maybe 2 casts off. One key reason why this team can be so difficult to burst down or outlast is due to the fact that not only the Druid and the Priest have Innovate and Shadow Fiend respectively to regenerate mana, but also since these 2 classes are very capable at solo healing for a while. This creates opportunities so that they can drop out of combat and drink. Just doing this action alone will force a member of the opposing team to chase them down and stop them drinking, which actually reduces the pressure on their teammates. This is best executed by Night Elf Priests and Druids since they can drink while shadow melded, which means an enemy has to get up close and detect them, and then interrupt their drinking tics. High level PhD teams will abuse this whenever possible, even if there is a sudden lull in the combat. They can quickly drink a few ticks of mana here and there and accumulate a lot of regenerated mana over the course of the match. When it comes to race and class recommendations, for Horde, an Orc Hunter is excellent due to passive increased stun resistance, an on-demand DPS increase with Blood Fury, and a pet that does slightly more damage. An Undead Priest gives an added bonus against fears with their Will of the Forsaken, especially since there will be so many Warlock teams in the arena. And finally, a Tauren Druid where their War Stomp and increased health pool will definitely come in handy to increase their control capabilities. For the Alliance, a Dwarf Hunter since Stoneform can remove any poison, as well as give themselves an armor bonus, and in this particular case, Night Elf for the Priest and the Druid since Shadow Meld drinking plays so much into their playstyle. Now that's not to say that Dwarf Priests aren't compatible either, they're always a solid choice in any situation since they have such powerful Priest ratio abilities as well. Now that we've covered the roles of the PhD Arena team, it's important that we understand how this team plays to its strengths. First thing that needs to be understood is that this type of team prefers longer, drawn-out matches, since they can double down on regenerating their own mana whilst draining their opponents. Once their opposing team's healer starts to run low on mana reserves, this is where the PhD comp can start applying kill pressure on one or several targets, since they all have opportunities to do damage. In the opening stages of the match, the PhD team will focus more on harassment and attacking mana reserves rather than just going for raw damage, and ensure that they can hold on to their big mitigation cooldowns as long as possible so that they aren't left open to being burst down during the window of time without them. One thing I would like to discuss is how does this matchup fare against the Rogue Mage Priest, since this will be a very popular team composition that will be run at all levels of arena rating because it does so well against so many comps. And if you want to get a Gladiator title, you will want to run a comp that has the potential to handle Rogue Mage Priest, or you will find that you'll always lose matches against them, which in turn caps how high you can get your rating to. So, does the PhD comp counter the Rogue Mage Priest? Well, if you're looking for a straightforward answer, I'm sorry to disappoint, but the answer is, it depends, and I'll explain why. Apart from glaring differences in skills, the main thing that's going to decide the outcome of this matchup is if the PhD can outlast the damage output of the Rogue and Mage trying to lock them down. There are a couple of objectives that the Rogue Mage Priest team want to achieve as soon as possible in the match. The first will be pushing for PvP trinkets to be used, and the second will be forcing important cooldowns like Pain Suppression and Nature Swiftness to be put on cooldown. The reason for this is that with a PvP trinket still available, a target can escape a 6-second kidney shot or a lined up shatter combo from the mage, and spells like Pain Suppression mitigate the damage from their burst potential massively, so they can't really secure kills quickly whilst those cooldowns are still available to the team. As I said in my previous video, the Rogue Mage Priest team want to end the fight as quickly as possible, because they have the Mage and the Priest, they just have limited ways to regenerate mana, and they'll start to run into longevity issues as the match drags out. If the PhD manages to play defensively, hitting their Viper Stings on the Priest and not getting locked down, with the Druid and the Priest controlling the fight as much as possible whilst they peel for the Hunter, then the tide of battle will turn in their favour the longer the match progresses. The nature of these matches isn't like rock, paper, scissors where you know the outcome before it's even started, because at the end of the day, player skill and teamwork is going to have a huge effect on who comes out on top. Ultimately, the PhD team is a very strong arena comp that can take you towards a gladiator title, and it allows Hunter mains to have a very good opportunity to achieve high rated play in 3v3, since I feel that they are a very underrepresented class in that bracket. One final thing I'd like to highlight is an amazing website called Silent Shadows. It's a huge resource dedicated to rogues and has so many tips, tricks, and in-depth knowledge about the arena for veterans and newcomers. Even if you aren't planning on playing a rogue, the depth of information here will help you play with a rogue teammate or become well informed of what you can expect to come up against when you face a rogue. After all, knowledge is half the battle when it comes to PvP, so I definitely recommend you check this website out, especially since all the content there is completely free and at such a high quality. You can find a link to the website in the description below. That's all for now. If there's a particular team composition or topic in the Burning Crusade Classic you'd like me to cover in the future, let me know in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate a like, or even a subscription if you want to see some more Burning Crusade Classic content in the future. This is the Bald Boomer Biosparks, signing out. Catch you lads next time.